So we start now.
We're good.
Talking.
Yeah. Now we have to remember how to talk.
The context is that every podcast we like clap 5 times to align the audio, and we've done that now. And now the audio is good, but we kind of didn't have a plan.
Yeah, we never really planned beyond that point, and then it's just like, oh right, I guess this is where the talking begins. But
there's like 6 people in the audience just staring at us.
Somewhere between 10,000 and 6, and potentially less than 6 also.
I like to think that there's like 8,000 people that are all just like using the same VPN, and it like miscounts it as just one person.
Yeah, I mean, our audience is pretty savvy. Like they're not just not using a VPN.
They're not using a VPN, which if you did the math,
they're not going to risk not using a VPN.
For sure. Yeah. So,
By the way, like we can always just not include this part if we wanted to get.
I feel like the biggest update for me is that I've had COVID the last like 3 weeks, and shit sucks, and I'm like slowly getting back my energy. And yeah, I mean, we were talking about like whether to do the podcast or not, but I'm like, let's give it a try. I feel my mind is fine. I feel good. I feel like I'm getting my energy back slowly but surely, even though it has been really fucking slowly compared to any normal virus, which is a little scary, but it feels like, you know, give it like 3 to 5 weeks is the idea. But yeah, so that's where I'm at.
What would you say like your percent normal is?
I feel like in the first like 3 days I fell from 100 to like 30%. I never thought I was going to go to the hospital, but it was a really shitty flu. And then on maybe the 4th day I woke up and it's like, all right, like I don't feel like I'm going to throw up anymore, but I have no energy, and I was sleeping a ton, taking naps all the time. Maybe got to the 8th day I woke up, it's like, okay, I feel 4th through 7th was steady. On the 8th day I had a bit more energy, but still like the best I could manage was just like laying on the couch all day. And maybe a week later I like was able to like go for even once you get to like the 14th, 15th day in, I was able to go for like probably 1 to 2 mile walk, including like a hill, and like be fucking winded at the end of it. And yeah, today is like I think 17th or 18th, so Thursday will be 3 weeks. So just like it feels like maybe I'm improving by like 1% every day.
Solid. I mean, I remember like talking to you a week or so ago, and you said you were just like completely not doing any work, like just kind of recovering, and now it sounds like you're kind of back on the routine and everything. So that's good. Yeah,
we had a Zoom meeting with the market cap team, and admittedly I was like winded after that. I was like at the end of the meeting, they were like, Nikhil jumped in. He was like, "Dude, you got just like take a second to breathe." It's like, all right. I just like couldn't, so I had to just stop and breathe. So it's like, it's a little weird to have it be seemingly so long after I got it and still be dealing with effects. But you know, like there's no point in playing what if games, and the best I can do is just, it's fucking like interesting to be at home all day. This is probably the longest I've gone in maybe my life without seeing a friend in person. So it's interesting what happens when all that it's almost as if I'm like at home over summer break and all my friends are like out of town or something.
Right. Yeah. You're just like in your own little world.
Exactly.
And, I mean, I guess that makes sense. You shouldn't really be like spreading it to all your friends or whatever. So, yeah. But I don't even know like when it becomes not contagious necessarily, but I feel like you're probably pretty.
They say 10 days in. Yeah. They say after 10 days, you're like pretty much safe to like do shit. It's been
like, even if you're still sick.
I think even if you still have a lot of symptoms, you're probably still contagious, I think.
Yeah.
But I think generally if you had like a normal case in 10 days, your body has like generally gotten rid of the virus and is just dealing with the aftermath.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Well, glad to hear you're almost back to full normal. I'm sure it'll be 100%.
I hope so, man.
Very soon.
It's like, bro, it's weird. I think about like, there's a good chance this shit started in a lab, right? So with that said, you know, I'm not trying to prove to you that I'm not going to get better right now. I just also want to make sure that I'm like living with like realism. So like, I think there's like a very good chance, very, very, very good chance, if not 95 or 98% that I'll get back to normal. But the reality is that I'm living in some uncertainty, and it's a little weird that it's been like almost 3 weeks and I still like can't do a Zoom call without getting out of breath.
For sure, but you'll get there, dude. I mean, I do think it can take time, but like, I mean, it's not going to be for the rest of your life. Like,
Don't you hear? Maybe I'm just like bad at Google searching, but the reason that I think this is because I've done searches that say like what I've seen is between 10 and 30% of people get like what's called long COVID, which lasts beyond 5 weeks. And I'm like, 10 to 30% is like not nothing. And I saw that it doesn't really matter what your age is. So like 10 to 30%, by the way, just like indicates that they need way better data because that's a huge range. But, you know, in the end, it's sort of an experience in not knowing and realizing like, you know, to be honest, like worst case scenario, I was talking with my friend Seth, like worst case scenario, I'm at this energy level the rest of my life. I can barely do a Zoom call without, I mean, I've thought about this and it might seem fucking melodramatic, and it is in a way, but it's like, all right, think about the worst thing Ryan Holiday would say, like, okay, I would still be fine.
Dude, I think that's like a good mentality to have, but dude, like, I think it's much higher than 95% chance that you're going to be back at 100%. Like, there's a chance that it goes longer than 5 weeks, but what does that mean? Like 6 weeks? Like,
yeah, that's like, true, man. It's not like the body is not binary. It's not like get rid of it in a week or we're stuck with it for life. It's like the body just takes its time. So it's
your body's doing its thing. It's got a lot of things to fix and to like put back in place. And dude, you're at 17 days in, and
I feel like
dude, how are you gonna feel at 1,000 days in if this is how you feel at 17?
Yeah, I'm like, it's almost as if I want to send my body an angry email, be like with the subject line, initial time estimates ? Be like, hey body, like I thought we were aiming for 2 weeks with this thing. I know this is a little awkward to send you this email, but it's looking at my top right of my computer screen. It's been 17 days. So what the fuck?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I feel you, like there's definitely unknowns, but there's unknowns on all sides of this thing, and that fucking sucks no matter what. So just kind of have to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, you're right.
But
we'll hopefully in the next TFSR I'll be like, yeah, like I'm totally fine.
I think by the next TFSR you'll like forget the fact
by the
that you
next
were ever
TFSR
worried.
we're gonna be NFT billionaires.
Exactly. And you'll have forgot that you ever had COVID by then, so we'll be good.
Exactly.
Sam is kind of half coughing off screen, so if there's coughs in the background, you know, like it's just it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like a laugh track, but a cough track.
So NFT billionaire. I mean, you just bought your first NFT today. I heard. So
yeah, I bought a Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty punk NFT that I have no idea what's gonna happen with it, but I figured to at least like get some skin in the game enough to actually care what happens, and I like the art, so yeah. We'll see.
I think that's the way to go. I mean, I haven't touched an NFT myself yet, but I've been thinking it for a few weeks. Is similar to what I was telling you with like DeFi, which maybe we'll get into. It's like I just want to kind of like interact with these things and see what it's actually like to be a part of it. Like I would love to just buy an NFT and sell an NFT, whether I like make any money on it or not, or just hold it. Like I'm ready to like go through the process a bit and just see what that's actually like, because I think this is going on with all areas of crypto right now. It's like 99% of the world doesn't care about crypto at all. And then of that 1% that cares a lot about crypto, only 1% of those people are actually really doing anything in it and have any idea what is really happening.
Other than just holding some fucking ADA on Coinbase and thinking you're going to become a billionaire.
Yeah. They're like, smart contracts are coming soon. But it's like, dude, you're talking to some other people that have like actually been using this shit and building on it and like all this stuff. And dude, I mean, I'm guilty of this too. I mean, shit, even like, I don't know, it feels like in crypto years, it was like a lifetime ago, but like there was a point where like I was super hyped on Cardano. I mean, and now like looking back, it's just like, wow, I had no fucking idea what I was talking about.
Yeah, I even forgot about you and Cardano. I wasn't even bringing that up with knowledge. But I do remember that, and it's funny to hear that you're shifting on just coins and whole like philosophies.
For sure. I mean, and that was a while back that I ever like first got into it, and I did really well with it. But like, obviously I had it just because of like stories and promises and thinking it would go up, and not actually like what's really being used. And by the way, like dude, if they pull it off and they end up like succeeding and they end up getting used, then like I'm all for it. And like, who knows, like maybe I'll get back into it if it actually becomes legit. But the reality of it is it's like a $90 billion market cap with nothing actually happening right now. and like the entire world is just telling you that something's about to be happening with it. And they're just like all so riled up about it. Meanwhile, you can look at other chains and there's just like things that you can do and use.
Yeah, man.
It's kind of insane. It's pretty wild, dude.
I mean, that's one of the big goals with marketcap.guide is to unearth all of this stuff that's like, it's like intuitive if you follow these projects for a while. For example, something like Tezos. I don't know much about Tezos, but I know that it seems really slimy from everything I've ever seen on it. But why do I think that? And can I find data to back that up? And can you measure like developer activity? Can you measure if the founders randomly took 60% of the initial supply like XRP did? Like there's all these like little, can you measure if the project is just taking advantage of the public not understanding what market cap is? Something like Shiba Inu, where the price is 0.000007 to make people think that it's really cheap, but actually it's just a manipulation, and it's like a borderline scam even. Because they're just
it is.
Yeah, it's a fucking scam. It's kind of pisses me off.
It's very much. I mean, and not like whether it's like a scam, people are running away with the money or not. It's like either way, it's not an important piece of technology. It's just like some bullshit that people are buying because they think it's going to go up. Like there's not really anything happening there other than the casino of crypto. And most people just see crypto as a casino. Yeah,
bro. And like Dogecoin is different. Number one, because it was the first one with the joke coin idea, and it didn't have expectations. Like, Dogecoin is like a friend at dinner that makes a joke that happens to be really funny, and Shiba Inu is like a friend that like is looking down at their phone and like reading a joke off of a joke website. It's like pathetic.
No, I would agree with you. I think they're totally different. Dude, Doge is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies in the game. I mean, it was probably like the third or fourth. I mean, I remember when it was literally like Bitcoin, Litecoin. I think it was Namecoin was one of the first like three or so, and then like Dogecoin. And at one point, it was definitely in the first five. I might be forgetting one other like OG coin, but and I think for these things to succeed, like, well, in the meme sense, it's like it can't be started as a meme that's going to succeed. It's like Dogecoin succeeded because it was a meme that didn't expect to succeed. And if you and like I think the same thing is happening with NFTs. Is like at this point I like firmly believe that CryptoPunks, like let's just talk CryptoPunks specifically. Like I think CryptoPunks will be like extremely important for like a very fucking long time, if not like forever. That said, I think 99% plus of NFT projects like probably will end up essentially worthless, but that's normal. I mean, that's fine. That's not to say they're like a scam, but it's like that's the same that's true of real art or real music or anything. It's like 99.9% of it is never worth $1 million or a mainstream, you know, Mona Lisa famous fucking museum piece of art or whatever, right? And that's fine. But something that I think made CryptoPunks super special, and I think this ties in with like Doge, is like CryptoPunks wasn't started with the sense of this whole crazy market we have right now. It was just like a cute little project that two dudes threw together, and they threw it out there. They gave them away for free. They, you know, gave them all these like quirky little attributes, and it was literally just out there. It's like, it had this like indie way of coming up instead of being this like manufactured value. So like now when you get all these new projects that like, yeah, we're going to do the same thing. It's like, well, now it kind of has that like cash grab mentality and stuff like that. So it's like, it's hard to like, how does a new project become seen legit like that is like a really hard bridge to gap. But yeah, I think that's similar to with like Doge versus Shiba or something. It's like Shiba is like the thing that's just trying to like ride the fucking train and just get people in and pump and dump.
Yeah.
It's like so sad for the crypto space.
It is really sad. And like, it's sad also, number one, because it goes up on memes, but a lot of the reason that anyone buys in is because they think it's cheap, and they just don't understand the concept of like circulating supply. And like, I remember it's like people like, I was like talking with a friend, like more of an acquaintance, about like a coin. He was like, yeah, I bought it because it was cheap. It was only like 70 cents. And just imagine if it's $1, $2. Like all these other coins are so expensive. And I was like, yo, like that's not how it works. Like you gotta compare market cap. And he didn't really like that I brought that up. I could just tell it was like, don't give me investing advice kind of energy. And it's just like, all right. Like he was just like, no, it's more of an intuition. And it's like, all right, man. It's in the end, like I can have strong opinions on cryptos, but you can also say that Shiba is like brilliant and like good for the market, because the people that need to get burned on, like, it's sad that people lose their money, but in the end, like if you're investing in shit and it ends up turning itself out to be shit, then like that's the name of the game. Like you can't be protected. And like in the end, like with crypto, it's like you got to assume that people are going to try and take advantage of it, and the best you can do is just try and put out trustworthy resources that people can trust, because right now there's not really much of a trust system.
Yeah, and I think like, you know, the sad truth is most people are never going to really understand what they're investing in. I mean, you could say the same thing for stocks even. Like, people probably look at Amazon stock and they're like, it's expensive, which like that's obviously a very high market cap also. But like, how many people even understand the concept of market cap when they're buying a stock on Robinhood? People
are going to have to. I don't mean to jump in, but people,
go for it.
The stocks are almost built like the Web 2 versus Web 3 system is so different at the core, where stocks are built on top of this system of like lawyers and laws, and it's almost like a white collar activity to trade stocks, where crypto isn't that. And like somehow the insider knowledge that's been encoded in lawyer speak pretty much and acronyms is all slowly becoming more understandable, because when people realize that this is something that you can actually make money on, and like, think of it this way. In the past, to make money, you got a job, and that job traded you money for your contribution, or you invested. But like now there's so many more investment opportunities. There's NFTs popping up all the time, new cryptos popping up all the time. And you can make money just by like following this and learning what coins do what, and like refining your judgment over time. So I feel like, you know, there's always going to be a lot of people that don't get it, but the ones that do, there's much more of an incentive over time to like learn. And I feel like that incentive is going to make people smarter.
I feel like within that though, some people fall for a trap, which is they could hear something like what you just said. Not that like what you said I agree with fully, but like
are you doubting what I said?
No, I swear to God. But I can imagine some people taking that and being like, they go the route of like, well, so I need to learn about trading. And like they think that crypto is about trading. And like it kind of drives me insane.
Dude,
like
I agree.
Like
yeah.
Like you will do, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I personally really strongly believe that you'll do a lot better trying to understand projects and investing in them. Not like being like, well, I think I understand what this chart is going to do and let me trade based on that. Oh, I can make money in crypto. Crypto is this thing that I can make money. I just have to be paying attention to new projects so I can trade in and out and just be like on the next hot thing. Like, oh, did you hear about Sheeb? Like, are you in Sheeb? Like, no, should I be? And then people like run around and they like fucking trade, and it's fucking chaos, dude. Like, whereas when you actually learn about like what are these projects really trying to accomplish, then you go down the fucking rabbit hole. I can't stop thinking about this for the life of me. Like I'm just like all day I'm thinking about crypto but I'm not thinking about crypto in the terms of like, I don't know, like nothing against like technical analysis necessarily. Like I don't think that it's
sort of
wrong, and I
empty.
think there's value.
It's like spiritually empty.
Yeah, and like I'll still occasionally watch some videos if I'm like curious what their take on like the whole market is or whatever, but it's missing the point, which is that there is some world shifting, unbelievably fascinating things that are occurring that like shift power from governments and corporations to people and decentralized autonomous organizations. And like we're living through this insane like future building in the sky thing that's happening. It's just like, I don't know what the right combination of words out of my mouth is.
It's like
to
those
like
people
shake
that
somebody
watch the
and
Super
make them
Bowl.
realize that.
Dude, it's like those people that watch the Super Bowl but don't understand football and are just like rooting for the half to end with like a 7 on one side of the score and like a 0 on the other side because they win $50.
Dude. Yeah, exactly. Whereas like, yeah, fuck. Dude, it's a problem. And that's why like, dude, you like you're just so fucking right for like for building something like marketcap.guide, because it's like you had this idea whenever you had it, and it's like the more I'm into this the more I'm into this, the more I'm just like, dude, the problem with crypto is education. It's like people don't get it. Like dude, I'm like, first of all, like this is probably the 1,000th time I've thanked you, but you were the person that like really got me to like really see it differently. You know, like I first bought some crypto in 2013, and I like sort of got the idea of like, oh, like, yeah, it's a new type of money that's like, you know, secure and digital in the future. And like, I like understood that, but I didn't really think about the deep implications for a long time after that. And, you know, now I have kind of like in my circle of friends, I have kind of become like the Sam to some extent, where like I'm trying to like I'm really explaining these things to the best of my knowledge and my abilities. Obviously, like, you know, I think compared to the general public, I'm in a very high percentile of understanding, but there's still like a whole level of understanding far beyond what I claim to understand. And like, I'm very much aware of that. But yeah, like when you get somebody to really understand, then they fucking light up, and then they become a beacon of telling everybody like what they need to understand. And you know, now like basically all my friends that have like, you know, got the whole spiel and stuff, it's like it changes their complete view 100%.
It's like inspiring. It's inspiring in this really elusive way where at first you're like, you think it's slimy and you're kind of scared of it. But once you realize, like, you think it through, and it's hard to put into words, and I think that's what it is. It's like, as powerful as the technology is, it is just as elusive to explain, which makes people think that you're like snake oiling them.
Yeah. It's hard to explain, dude. Like it's
it makes
really
you feel
funny.
crazy,
It's like,
honestly, because once you realize it, you're like, hey guys, like this is this, and they're like, oh yeah, oh you're trying to pump Bitcoin. It's like, okay,
dude,
fine.
This is how
$dollars.
I feel. This is how I feel literally at this moment. Is like I've been studying more than ever, like over the past few months, and you know, like honestly, I'm spending like hours a day, like on crypto Twitter, and then going down rabbit holes, and like just really trying to learn as much as I can, and like. when I'm like in my head and I'm on the computer, it's like I feel like I understand this stuff. But then even right now, it's like we have the microphones and we're talking, and I'm just like, trust me, like it's this crazy, like you have to understand, like it's just I'm just like saying gibberish in a way.
Yeah.
Whereas like it's hard to translate what you can have a vague overview understanding of. But then it's like, well, how do I break this down, and like how do I lead somebody down the same logical path of like what are the facts they need to know to get to the same conclusions that I've reached?
Right.
And that's tricky.
Yeah. And the projects that actually do that and tell you the thesis and tell you how they reasoned it out, the projects that show you the work as opposed to just giving you the answer, which might be, I don't know, buy Tezos. Like those projects are the ones that win, because they're like, I mean, that's just, you're thinking it through. And there actually is a lot of snake oil. One way I'd try to describe, like the best thing that I've found to describe Bitcoin is in terms of energy. And I don't know if this gets too woo-woo or trippy, but if you think of it, money is just stored energy. If you have money, then you can almost you can incentivize people to move their energy in a way that you would like, such as a DoorDash person delivering your food in exchange for money. It's a form of energy, and when you use money, you're sending energy into the world. If we think, well, what is the source of energy? How does energy get created? Currently, we're relying on like a fucking department that has meetings and makes decisions and is like, and can create energy at will. It's not backed by anything. They can just press a button and create $3 fucking trillion, and that's $3 trillion of energy. That has a huge impact. The downstream effects of $3 trillion of energy is massive, and it's like it almost accounts to like the entire public doing what you want, more or less. Then you figure out the entire all of the energy is not just like, it's not distributed fairly. It's not given in an airdrop. It's given as a loan, which means that any money that entered the economy was as a loan. So by design, the entire U.S. public, the entire world is in debt to the governments. And that's weird. Yeah. That's fucking crazy. And I'm almost done on this. But then you realize that Bitcoin is a fair distributed way to print the money, so that based on people's electrical contribution, they basically, if you prove that you have energy, then you get money. So it's not like Bitcoin is like it's like a way to translate energy from the physical realm to the digital realm.
I love the explanation. And I think that type of angle is like what people need to hear first, like rather than like, so there's a distributed ledger and there's like, you know, like then people are just like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. But from the philosophical almost standpoint, people can get behind it much easier. And now it's almost even harder, because now people are just like, well, I don't know which one to invest in. How do I pick the next Bitcoin? And it's like, you have to, I think the key is to understand Bitcoin first. Still.
I tell people
I think it probably
just buy Bitcoin while you're deciding.
Yeah. I mean, actually get in it. Then you'll be more incentivized to understand it too. I mean, everyone I know that has at least a little is like, now they're on Team Bitcoin, and then they're much more willing to understand it. Whereas like when you're on the outside, then you're just like, well, why would I understand this? It's probably bullshit. I don't understand. Like, yeah. But now I can, dude, it's probably more overwhelming than ever for new people, because now they're like, well, Bitcoin's already $50,000. This is their thought, not mine. Yeah. They're like, Bitcoin's already $50,000. And then like, I don't know, I heard Ethereum was good. And then like the 16-year-old on the street is telling me to buy ShitRocket or whatever. And then it's like, what do I do? Like, so I think the key is like,
you're talking about CumRocket, unless there's a new one that I haven't heard of, in which case I need to really look into that.
It's a fork of CumRocket.
Oh shit!
No, I'm making that up.
Okay. I was like, damn, I gotta look into the stats.
You gotta get in early, Sam. It's a great trade. All the Fibonacci.
Just imagine when the SEC will like SEC versus CumRocket for misleading investors.
That's when like simulation confirmed at that point, for sure.
We're getting fucking close every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're fucking past it already, but
Yeah.
different. but for real, I think that having that, like, your explanation, fundamental understanding of Bitcoin first is still kind of the unlock to knowing what's out there. Because then when you start explaining another crypto, you're kind of explaining that on top of the backbone of understanding Bitcoin. And
You can't.
the only exception to that, in a way,
is helium.
is helium. Because helium, like, I literally, like, I have friends that have gotten hyped about helium that, like, they still don't really have a clue what Bitcoin is. Like, dude, I mean, I told you, I'll tell the podcast, but, like, even my dad bought some, and, like,
Bro, my
that's
therapist
crazy.
bought some.
You sold your therapist on you. That's amazing. That is so cool. But dude, like, my dad's thought crypto was bullshit for years, and then, like, he somehow, we don't have to go the whole story, but he somehow, like, got into some other one that he heard about, and then I just explained helium to him, and, like, he was sold, like, immediately. And I'm like, wow, like, helium is one that people can get their heads around a lot easier. And, like, when I'm in, like, my crew of friends or whatever, and I, like, go on my rambles, it's like, you know, people are like, well, which ones are you most excited about? And it's like, you know, try to imagine explaining Thorchain to somebody that doesn't even understand Bitcoin yet. Yeah. And it's like, good luck, dude. Whereas, like, you can explain helium to anybody. So yeah, it is a huge exception for sure.
Yeah. Is it worth making any price predictions on helium for, like, 3 years out? Well,
3 years?
Let me preface it by, we're not trying to be right, and it's okay to overestimate. I guess what else? Let's talk in terms of digits, not in terms of numbers. Like, in terms of how many digits. Like, bro,
like
I could
3 figures, 4 figures.
Yeah, exactly. I could see it being like 4 to 5 figures within the next 3 to 5 years.
So I would say 4 is where my head goes as well. I mean, I remember this Twitter thread. I've wanted to ask you about it because somebody posted it in our helium chat. It might have been Seth. It's this, I don't remember the guy's name, but this guy, like, wrote a few, like, really epic threads on helium on Twitter. And, like, there was one that, like, really explained, like, the burn to mint equilibrium and how it eventually gets to a point where it's like, it's $20 of HNT price per $1 million of data credits was like and I want to, that's still kind of like, I want to fully understand that, because when you think, if that's correct, then you can much more accurately extrapolate a price estimate.
Well,
right?
Yeah, I struggle with the two. I'll do my best with the explanation. So, helium always prices data in US dollars, not HNT. But the way it works is that when you want to buy data on the Helium network, there's a mechanism where at that time you can convert helium to data credits, which really means you burn the helium you have and you just get data credits minted to your account at the current exchange rate as measured by Chainlink oracles. Stay on top. Okay, so you have data credits, but they're always priced in US dollars, which means that we already know the inflation rate of helium. Right now it's 2.5 million HNT are created per month and distributed. The question becomes, what do we need to do in order to burn 2.5 million HNT per month? And it depends on two things. It depends on how much data is being bought, and it also depends on the price of HNT.
Right.
So I think it's not like, you have to figure, okay, if the price of HNT is $1,000 and 2.5 million is created every month, then that means $2.5 billion of HNT is created every month, which means that you'd need to, like, burn that much. 1,000's a lot, but it's something like that. I'm
right.
I'm gonna
you're explaining it correctly, and like, that's the thing, dude. There was this hilarious line on My First Million where I think they actually said they stole it from Pomp, I think, but it was like this line about, like, don't do public math.
Oh,
it was like, because when you start doing this shit, like, especially like on a podcast or something, you're just like, it's really tough. But yeah, I'm with you. It's like, I'm with you. I I understand how that works in terms of like a fucking like picture that a third grader could draw, but I want to like really understand it. But basically, the level I'm at is like trust that all kind of falls into place, and the best estimates are that I think it is $20 of HNT to 1 million of data spend is kind of like was like the estimate that I saw, unless I have something like that.
Yeah.
Is that like is that wrong? You kind of look like
it's sort of it's not easy for me to understand. So,
yeah, me neither.
Yeah. So there's no, it sounds interesting.
Yeah. I want to dig deeper into that because that would allow you to more accurately understand how big it could get.
I think that could be valuable digging deeper, man. But
based on like that assumption, then you realize that, 4+ figures is not really that insane because the current HNT price, like call it at $20. I know now it's practically 30 now, but it was 20 a few days ago. So it's like $20 and it's already at what, 2 million a month.
Yeah,
data
man.
spend.
Sometimes
and you can imagine it being $1 billion a month data spend, like fairly, like it's not that crazy at all, right?
Yeah, man. It's like if this actually is going to democratize access to the internet and somehow like give everybody in the world access to the internet, and all they need to do is get HNT on an exchange, and then you just burn it, and it's like competitive rates, and it's an efficient system, and now everyone has internet in the world, and HNT is still ranked number 70. Like, I don't think so. Like, it's going to be like top 20, top 10, top 5 if it really solves the problem that it's trying to. So you can always go crazy thinking about this. And it's like, it does make you feel crazy to feel like you're so early, and to not only that, but you've been right in the past, and that's no guarantee you'll be right in the future, but it's definitely no guarantee that you won't be right in the future. And just, yeah, man, I think it's going to be possible to like, it's a really fucking exciting field, because if you are right about these things, you can make a lot of money, and you can put it back into these things. And it's like, I was thinking like, and even talking with the team earlier, like our business model is just to be right on coins so that we have money to spend on this project.
Yeah, that's a good way you're right. It's like, dude, this can just be, it doesn't have to directly make money as long as you know what's happening.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
And like you figure that it'll flip to be profitable eventually, but we don't need to do the Web 2 model where there's a certain amount of cash in the bank and we're burning a certain amount and then we have to raise more money. It's like we theoretically have enough to just go perpetually if we're right about these coins. And by being in this industry and working on it every day, you can't help but learn more. So it's fucking exciting recently, and you can just feel the energy building up. And like I don't think either of us would be surprised if Bitcoin blows through 100K in the next month or two even.
Oh yeah, no, like it's crazy just how markets work, right? It's because like earlier this year it was like, oh, of course Bitcoin's gonna hit 100K this year, but then it's like the market shakes out just enough that you're like, I don't know, like this is getting a little shaky, and then all of a sudden it's like, actually, as soon as you fucking said that, now we're back on.
I gotta be honest though, like I always thought that it was a fucking shakeout, just because like going from the previous low of 3K, previous high of 20K, if you go 20 to 3 up to like 60K and then just go back down for 3 or more years, like it's not reflective of reality. There's so much happening.
Yeah.
And at this point, like during the last bull run, the fundamentals weren't quite there, and the infrastructure was being built out. But if you're following it, you realize like the infrastructure is actually not quite built out yet, but you can like taste it. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel for like the building blocks of this revolutionary new internet. And it's like, bro, like one of the reasons I think that the laws are going to get more crypto friendly in the next 1, 2, 3 years is that the ignorance is going to go away, and people are going to realize crypto is one of the best hopes we have. You can change incentives.
Yeah, and like what you're just saying about the obvious fundamentals, like this is back to like why like charts and shit makes no sense to me, because it's like, do you really think that Bitcoin right now is like, do you think all that's happening right now is just going to go into like another 3.5 year like silence? Like it just doesn't make any fundamental sense with what's happening. And sometimes I mean, almost always I get so delusionally bullish that I'm at the point where it's like, it's hard to imagine. Like there are people that are just so sure. They're like, well, I'm going to sell the top at the end of 2021, and then I'm going to buy the bottom in 2023, and then I'm going to ride that up in 2025. And it's just like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if it's this time. Like, I don't want to be like so completely like, obviously, like anything could happen. I'm sure it'll be volatile in the short term, or in the short-ish term, like in the multi-year term. But like you would say, it's so obvious which direction this is going. And like, I have to think that like these bear winters are just going to get like smaller and shallower because there's the fundamental floor is constantly rising.
Dude, I remember I was at a entrepreneur dinner maybe like 6 months ago that I organized, and I like didn't know everyone, and I mentioned that I keep almost all of my money in crypto, and then this dude says to someone else, he's like, oh, well, that's stupid. Like, just like, oh, well, clearly that's stupid. It's like, I just laugh on the inside because in that moment, there's nothing that I can say because that's the societally expected thing. It's like, oh, just dumb kid putting his money into crypto. It's like, on the inside, it's just like, no, not only do you not understand it, but you're not curious to understand why. And I'm going to be financially rewarded for this decision. Probably. Maybe I'm wrong. I really don't think so. Pretty sure I'm not. And it's like new money. It's like, why would I ever keep a lot? You know, maybe if I think the market's getting really overheated, I'll put like, I don't know, 20% into fiat just to like protect myself, especially if it gets to a point, you know, it makes sense to have insurance. But it'd be hard to do more than that.
I agree. I mean, I'm with you. I'm essentially 100%. So yeah, I mean, they just don't see it. And what they don't see is that we see what they're doing as risky and negligent in its own way. You know, it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to put it in real things like real estate. It's like, well, it's just
like maybe if you're buying in Austin, maybe
real estate's up 20% this year. It's like, yeah, how many fucking trillions of dollars more are there in the world?
By the way, there's a revolutionary new type of money, and new money is only invented once every like 5,000 years. Did you hear about this thing? Oh, you want to get fucking 8.5% a year in the S&P? That's basically just inflation reflected back to you.
Yeah. Dude, it's wild. Like, that's what I keep thinking. It's like, I think you're right. I think I'm right. But at the same time, it's like, wait a second. If this really plays out, holy shit. Right?
Yeah, man.
I think it is playing out.
I've realized that it's a real lonely life to spend all your time trying to convince people that don't think the way you do about different things. You know, I try with my friends, but the key thing is when we are trying to educate people, it's like, it's kind of taxing because especially if people are really closed off to crypto and what it is and are very like dismissive and even can be arrogant, it's like, fuck you. Like, I'm trying to help you. There's not really anything in this for me other than pumping HNT and Shiba to the moon. But yeah, man, it's like people realize when they do, and I'm doing my best with market cap, but it is crazy. And I think that one of the signs of being sane is asking if you're crazy. And one of the signs of being crazy is being sure that you're sane.
That's a great quote. Wow.
That's intro,
tremendous. Dude. I love that. Seriously, that's a tweet. That's a famous quote. I don't know what that is.
Jamie, did you get that?
Yeah. Can you make like a nice little graphic? Like get a picture of Sam on stage with a headset.
Maybe? Put it on OpenSea.
Ooh, NFT that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have two thoughts I kind of want to finish on, like back on helium, like just ways I'm viewing it, and curious your input as well. One is that, I kind of have like the way like my portfolio is, and like I don't know, without being like completely specific or whatever. Like I feel like I have like three main like big bets outside of just having like some Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that's mainly helium and Thorchain Rune, and then I've been building up in the Terra Luna ecosystem too, right? Like I've built a lot of more conviction there, but I still have like less there. What's interesting is the way I view helium lately is like, I actually think helium is like way less risky. Like it just feels, even just looking at the way the price moves, like it's just very stable, headed up. Like it's just, it feels like a blue chip or something. It just feels less crazy to me to have a substantial amount in helium versus like something like Rune. Like, and this will kind of tie into my next point in a second. It's like maybe like Rune has potentially more multiples of upside, you could argue, like potentially. And I want to explain why I would say that in a second, my question about that rather. But helium just feels more certain. Like they're building a network. People are using the network. It's growing. It's just very clear.
And by growing, do you mean accelerating at an accelerating speed?
Yes, it's growing at a nosebleed, straight up, you just lost consciousness rate.
Yeah.
And you can measure that and you can see that. Whereas like
that's a chart that matters.
Exactly. Yeah. And like whereas I view Thorchain, and it's like, you know, Thorchain is still at a riskier stage, right? Like but here's the second thought, and I'm curious what you think, is like, you know, we talk about like market cap, and obviously understanding market cap is a key to understanding like what the actual price of a project is, right? But the thing is, this is like crypto is going to be so broad. Like at like years back, it was like each crypto was just like trying to be the next currency. Like that was it. Like that was the only thing we were thinking about. It's like, this one's faster, this one's cheaper, and they're all going to be money, and one's going to win, and that's it, right? Like that was kind of the war of crypto. Whereas now it's like Bitcoin is gold, helium is like the world internet, you know, Thorchain is like the multi-chain liquidity connecting every other chain. You know, maybe Doge is for buying coffee. Like, you know, they're all going to end up having their little, and then there's, you know, Ethereum and Solana that's going to run all these decentralized apps. Like there's all these categories now, right? So it's like something that I think about, and I don't have an answer to this, but I'm just kind of thinking it out loud and curious your thoughts, is like these different problems have different size like upper limits. Like hypothetically, like is solving the internet problem as big as solving the liquidity of all money problem? Or is, you know, like is Akash with the cloud computing thing, is that problem as big as gold? Or like is gold as big as the problem that Ethereum is trying to solve, right? It's like, so in a way, like, you know, just thinking like, oh, like this deserves to be in the top 5 cryptos or whatever. It's like, I'm not fully convinced it's like the right way of thinking about it, just because each one is going to have like for example, like is the biggest, it's hard to phrase, but like
I understand.
What's the highest value company? It's like Amazon or whatever. Is Amazon number 1 or is Apple number 1?
I think
whatever.
Think that Apple
so let's say,
but I'm not sure. Yeah.
So here's a good example. It's like Apple's number 1. Apple makes phones. Apple makes computers. I think it's pretty damn clear that like what Tesla is trying to solve could be like way bigger than that, right? It's like, so it's kind of the same thing as, you know, like could helium solving world internet, is that as big of a whole pie? Like I mean, it's fucking huge. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely massive, but it's like, what does 100% of all these different categories look like?
Yeah.
Do you follow the train of thought?
I do follow the train of thought. I think that's one perspective that you can look at this through. I think there's also others that are compelling, and I don't have really an answer. I think like every one of these projects is a list of pros and cons, and we have to do a bunch of like math in our head. A lot of it, some of it's more intuitive, just how you feel about it. you're right about Thorchain. Thorchain is just a little bit of a scary one because at any point, if somebody cracks it, then you might lose a lot of money, but then it gets stronger. So like, I think Thorchain will be a huge value to the world, and investing it is good over time because you're really invested in the idea. And even if it ever forks, then you'll get coins on the new chain and the old chain, and you figure that eventually a chain will figure it out. Even if not for like, maybe they'll give you like a trust score for like, if you're pulling Ethereum, it's like, okay, it's been 2,000 days without a hack, like a construction sign, 300 days without an accident, right? So you get it. You get a confidence level, and you get to choose. And I mean, the cool thing about Thorchain, which by the way, for anyone, is like decentralized Coinbase. So Coinbase that doesn't rely on one company, where you can swap your coins. So yeah, I think that it's a good investment. I agree with you. I'm like super fucking red hot on Helium right now. So I have a higher percentage in Helium, and
I do too at the moment, just because of the way the price has played out for the most part. Yeah. But you're totally right. Like, I agree. Like, I think I see. I mean, there's a way higher chance that Rune is Thorchain. There's a way higher chance that Rune goes to zero than Helium goes to zero, I think, for sure. But like, that's why I see that as like almost my like highest like leverage bet in a way. It's like, because if this shit fucking works, then holy fuck, it's just could be massive. And I think it will be like one of the most important cryptos within the next few years. And I think Helium is too. Like, by the way, like anything I'm saying there, like is not like I'm fucking hyped about Helium. It's literally like my highest position. Right. Like I wouldn't do that if I wasn't hyped on it. It's just like, I do have that question of like, what are the biggest problems to solve in crypto is something I've been thinking about. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, like, so Helium is solving like, Helium's kind of solving a different problem. It's not really like a problem that people typically would think of as a problem of the crypto industry. It's more like a crypto solution for a non-crypto industry, however you want to consider it, right? Whereas like Thorchain is trying to solve the problem of cross-chain swaps, cross-chain liquidity, decentralized exchange. Like it's the true vision of crypto. It's like, how do we not let a centralized authority get in the way of our money?
I think that saying Helium is solving a Web 2 problem with Web 3 is true, but doesn't give it enough credit, because we'll respond to the Thorchain thing, but you could think of Helium as like being the literal lifeboat that gets you to Web 3.
Yeah, no, and I do see that. Like, I feel like the words aren't coming out of my mouth right. It's like, what I mean is that like, it's not, it doesn't seem like, like let's say you went back a few years and you just have like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Doge, you have freaking ADA, you have like, Tezos or whatever. Like you have like, did I say Ethereum? Like, it just kind of solves that fundamental problem of like, hey, that whole vision of crypto that you were sold on? Thorchain lets you actually do that without trusting Coinbase.
Oh, dude, I'm in full agreement. It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
You can think of crypto as like, we're all sort of building a computer with a different philosophy from the ground up. So you have the computer operating system, which is Ethereum or Solana or something like that. You have the computer hardware, which is potentially, the networking is more Helium, and the hardware hasn't even come out yet fully because we're still on Web 2 phones and Web 2 computers, and you're going to have that built into the hardware. So it's like, we're at a very early point, but it's open to more thoughts. Also curious about talking about one more coin.
One in particular, or just in general?
I think you might be sleeping on Arweave versus like Filecoin or Siacoin.
Well, first of all, I would definitely put Arweave before those other ones. I'm just curious about Filecoin and Siacoin. I bought into Arweave. I was sold on it, and then this is almost a broader problem in my mind, but I've been for the past, at this point, like well over a year, it's like as I've really got more into it, it's like I keep going back and forth about like, do I want the fewest positions possible, or like should I have a few more like, you know, thrown in the mix? And it's like I always go back and forth on that. So I got to the point where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna go from 5 coins to 6 coins. I'm gonna put Arweave on there, and I bought some and I had it. I got to the point where I was like, yeah, like I understand it. Like I mean, not, you know, to the core, but I understand the vision. I love it. I think Arweave is great. I think Arweave is clearly in my top 3 favorites of coins I don't currently own, like easy. But yeah, honestly, like I had it, and like, you know, I'm checking my like portfolio percentages, and we're talking about that, and I'm like, this is low, or, you know, I'm excited about, you know, like Solana too is another that I don't have, and it's like, well, how can I allocate another 5 or 10% to this or whatever? So it's like every time I can cut a position, it frees up mental bandwidth, and I'm like, well, now I'm not thinking about that anymore. And it was kind of just like I had Arweave, and I'm like, okay, I have it, I believe in it, but I'm not thinking about it every day. I'm not at that point with it yet. So I was just like, in a way, it felt freeing to just not have it, but I love it, and I think I'm likely going to get back in, because I should be having some fiat to burn in the next week or two. So I'll probably put that into that's a top pick for me.
Yeah, I feel like I get that. I feel like when it comes down to it, my thinking goes, if this thing is gonna 100x, then it's not even as much about the money. I just want to enjoy the ride and protect myself from the downside of checking the marketcap.guide and seeing Arweave in the top 10 and being like, I knew it was happening. The realization that I've had recently with it, I've always been excited about it, but I realized that people put Arweave and Filecoin and Seacoin in the same bucket. Just for anyone listening, Arweave is you pay once and you store any type of data forever. So one-time payment, that data is stored for eternity. The Filecoin model, which is the same as Seacoin, is you're basically renting storage so that you rent as much as you need, and you're paying monthly, maybe not monthly, but whatever interval. The thing I like about Arweave is that it's more in the ethos of blockchain, and like what we think about with Solana or Ethereum is that it runs uncensorable programs, but it doesn't actually store uncensorable files. And it's like you just need storage on this computer, and Arweave is the only blockchain that's doing a pay once store forever model, which like that is the blockchain model. It's this thing happens and we can trust it forever because we have the chain of Bitcoin going back to the beginning, so we can trust it. So that's the angle that got me super pumped on it.
I love it.
And I'm probably at like, let me do the math, like a 5% position in Arweave, so nothing crazy. 5% Arweave, 10% Solana, and then big on Helium.
So here's how I'm thinking about it, and like, this is in no way a criticism of it. Like, I love it, and I'm super bullish on this area of like new web infrastructure. Like, I think that's why I'm into Helium. That's why I like Handshake. That's why I'm getting interested in Akash. And I think Arweave fits in that even better than a SIA or a Filecoin. My question is like, just from, and I agree with you too, like the ethos of it is amazing. Like, dude, when I first like watched their videos, and like, I don't know if I was a little high or not or whatever, you're just like, they are like, this is from the future.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, wow. It's crazy. It's a really interesting one, and I love that about it. My question is, and this is just an open question, something I'm thinking through, and I don't know the math on this, by the way, but most data doesn't need to be stored forever. So I wonder how the economics work, right? Like, I think Arweave is they're doing their own thing, right? And the other ones aren't doing the forever thing, and that is amazing. And that for its use case is such a winner. Like, they will win the forever data space. But kind of back to what I was saying a few minutes ago is like, how big is the forever data space compared to all storage, right? Like, so that's my question is like, if you can more economically pay for temporary storage, then you're probably going to do that for everything that doesn't need to be permanent.
What's an example of something that doesn't need to be permanent?
Good question. I don't know. Just like when, I mean, I'm not technical, right? So I'm kind of guessing with all of this stuff, but you know, a website, like any like website that is just like doing some sort of information, calculating, spitting something out, you know, in some ways, like having it be ephemeral is sometimes an advantage. Like you don't want things to be stored, right? So
yeah,
security, privacy, that's like, an interesting perspective. It's like, should everything be logged indefinitely no matter what? Like, should every action on the internet be recorded in history? That's an interesting question for sure.
Like, not every click, but you figure that, I mean, maybe all your family photos, like, you definitely want that on Arweave. If I made a website, if I spent a bunch of time on a website, I wouldn't want to host that on GitHub. I want that on Arweave. Like, I want to make sure that lasts. And there's a certain, like, like throwing something at the wall and it just sticks forever that I think is cool. So, you know, data is infinitely growing. So I feel like in the long term, it's going to be more appealing to, you know, there'll be markets for both. But I think that all social media will probably be backed up on Arweave.
Yeah, no, that was a great question. Definitely makes me think even deeper on it. And I already think it's way more interesting. Like, you know, because in a way, a Filecoin or something is like a Web 2 sort of service, sort of. You're just like paying monthly for whatever. But yeah, the forever thing is what makes Arweave so damn intriguing. I just haven't yet like got my head around like the economics of it and or all the use cases. It's like, so I don't really know the great answer to your question, but I would imagine like some companies or some projects, there's probably storage that's like not that important, that if they could pay, and it also depends how the economics compare, right? Like if it's 3% cheaper to store it on Filecoin for 5 years than it is to store it forever on Arweave, then Arweave's going to win. But what if it's like 10-1? Like, I just don't know how the economics work out. Like, what if you can,
It does depend on the economics, and it also incentivizes systems where, like, one example I thought of is historical crypto pricing data. It might not make as much sense for every crypto market cap website to back up that on Arweave. It might make sense for, like, people to just endorse data that's already on Arweave. So maybe like someone somewhere pays once for this stuff to be on Arweave, and then there's like an API that like connects to it and is sourcing from that data. So I think there's a lot of data that can be used by a lot of people that only needs to be paid for once, and you might be able to get a lot of people to like quote unquote go in on that.
Yeah. I love it. Like I really do love Arweave already. It's just not, it just hasn't made it into like my staples.
I get that.
But I want to do more research. I want to understand it. And it's just like, dude, I'm just so, it's crazy. Like we started the podcast by saying almost every project is bullshit. But the counterpoint that we forgot to throw in at the beginning is it's like, we've reached this point where there's also an overwhelming number of amazing projects now. And it's like, I feel like I can't give them all enough attention. The good ones, not just all of them, like just the good ones.
Dude, you can't spell bullshit without bullish. I just did the magic.
Dude, that's a tweet right there.
Yeah.
That's a billboard.
Yeah, bro. Bitcoin is bullshit. With quotes around it. Below that, you can't spell bullshit without bullish.
Oh man, that's great, dude. I feel like I mean, I don't know if you've done any more research, but I mean, it's also under 10% for me in this one, but like, I really think Terra and Luna are doing some crazy, interesting stuff. And the more I learn about that, the whole concept of we're talking about Thorchain and decentralized exchanges and Coinbase and all of that, but the goal of a decentralized stablecoin like seems to be another one of those biggest problems to solve in crypto. It seems like that to me.
I've realized one of my biggest hesitancies of Terra, and just for anyone listening, Terra, let me know if you do better, but I'd say Terra is like a way to mint stable coins of like any country's currency. You make a stable coin on Terra. In order to mint it, the way that it works is it's a decentralized minting system where you burn Terra in order to mint a coin, and they have millions of users using this who have no idea that they're even using crypto.
Mm-hmm.
So my biggest question is this another example of a Web3 company, a Web3 protocol that is sort of just like bringing Web 2 to Web 3 temporarily? It's like in the end, they are spreading around stable coins, which represent fiat money.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like, so I probably wouldn't commit now to like, maybe in a way I'm thinking on a little bit of a shorter horizon, not like short, but like, yeah, I don't know, 10 years from now, like, do we even care about fiat stable? Like, I don't know, like maybe not, but I think that there's a long transition period where like it's gonna matter deeply, and maybe it's necessary. Like it might be necessary to do the transition, because like how else do you just like hard cut? Because that is something I wonder. I was explaining this to a friend, and he was like, well, like what if like why do you need stable coins? Like what if you could just go straight to real fiat in between a trade or whatever, or you just go from like Bitcoin to Ethereum or whatever with Thorchain? And like that's a good question. It's like, do you really need stable coins? And it seems like right now you do, but like will you in 20 years? Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I don't like holding stable coins, so maybe it's just me projecting my own, but at the same time I like to invest in things that I actually use. So I think it's very promising. I think it's one of the best projects out there. It would probably be in my top 10. And I'm definitely curious to keep following it.
Yeah, I think it's another like top 10 overall worthy project. And there's a lot now. But I mean, I'm not sold on every angle of it to the point where I would be like 50% or something. For sure. But it's the other thing is like from the user perspective is here's why it's interesting is because regardless of like the whole stablecoin decentralized thing, and let me explain it just, or at least attempt for my own practice, is like the problem that people have with Tether, USDT, or USDC is that these are centralized entities that they take $1 and they give you a magic dollar, right? And then we all kind of have to believe that they're backed, right? So there's a trust of a centralized backing, and like there are Tether like doomsday people, and neither of us are necessarily on that. I think I'm not saying I love USDT, but I don't know. If it collapsed, does that really collapse the whole crypto system? Maybe only because people are afraid that it will collapse it, so they self-collapse it.
That would be a temporary thing at most. Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah, and it's like nobody's married to USDT. It's like if USDT crashed, it's like couldn't we just go to USDC? Like what? Like who fucking cares? Yeah. Like unless people are sitting in a bunch of USDT or whatever. But it's one of those crypto ethos things, right? It's like UST, that's USD, Terra USD. Yeah. UST is a true decentralized stablecoin. So it's just part of the Terra ecosystem. Nobody can control it outside of the code that it's running on, right? So nobody can just like print it. It's printed in an algorithm against Luna. So as $1 of UST is minted. When you enter that ecosystem, $1 at equivalent price of Luna is burned, which creates scarcity in Luna. So you invest in Luna as a proxy for your bet on the adoption of UST as a major stablecoin. So
it makes total sense.
I think UST, like, to me, stands a chance of swallowing like as big of a market cap of USDT and USDC, and potentially bigger as things continue to go up. And people can also, as just like, honestly, way bigger than, it can be way bigger than USDT, because like at some point there's going to be, this is already happening, like where they started with the Chia network in Korea. It's like at some point you're going to have like an app on your phone where you can just like, instead of having your Wells Fargo savings account, you just have like a 20% stablecoin account where you're putting your dollars there or whatever. Like, it's a bridge for non-crypto people, right? So it could bring in billion, like hundreds of like, who knows? Like, it could bring in so much money into the crypto ecosystem. And nobody, and you're not, and it's not, you don't have to trust it. I mean, you have to trust the code. Like, that's, I think, one of the biggest risks is like, is there some fundamental fatal flaw that makes the whole system tumble down? Like, you know, that's some element of risk, but I think it's one of those big problems to solve. And now on the other hand, what got me into it in the first place, before that, is that whole UST thing is just the backbone that the entire Terra ecosystem can be built on top of. The same way with Thorchain, like the cross-chain liquidity is just the back end that an entire ecosystem can be built around and on top of. So with Terra, like, the reason I first got into it and the reason it pulls people in is because I would say pretty damn firmly that they're in the lead of making DeFi actually accessible to people, like right now. Like, will that, you know, can Solana come out with some killer apps and like, you know, or will the same apps like go over there? Like, maybe and probably, and that will be very exciting, and then I'll use them. But at this point, dude, I know literally, like, I mean, through chats or personally, or people I've personally got onto it, like 20 people that are using DeFi on Terra that like don't even hardly know what MetaMask is. Like, it's so easy. Like, it just works. It's easy. It's cheap. The UIs are great. Like, they're actually leading and making DeFi accessible. And I think that's fucking crazy and epic. So, that's kind of like the interesting case from the user perspective, is like, I actually started using this stuff and I see how it is, and I can explain it, and you can touch it and you can make some rewards, and it all feels very nice. And like, that is super crazy compared to the crazy shit I see people doing on Ethereum. Like, I don't know of, and not that DeFi is the only problem to solve, but it's just that they are leading in that right now, in my opinion, making it accessible. So it's hard to ignore that for me.
Yeah. It also has the best abbreviation of any stable coin. Just has a ring to it. UST sounds like USD.
It does. And here's the crazy part too, is like, if you just want to talk like, you know, investment and price action, not financial advice, do your own research. It's like, nobody, like, whether or not you think Tether is going to explode and ruin us all, like, whether you think yes or no to that, nobody loves Tether. Like, nobody cares. Like,
I agree with you. I think that it's like, the thesis checks out. Tether sucks. It's used. It's going to get less popular over time. There's going to be somebody to solve the problem. It might as well be Terra and Luna are the same thing. It might as well be that. I'm in full agreement.
Yeah, no, I'm not like,
oh no, I know we're not going
like,
back and forth, but no, I understand.
I'm just
and
trying
I
to
understand.
put the whole
I know there's
thesis
other
out
people
there.
that listen to this other than me.
Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to convince you to like, you know, put your entire net worth into it. I'm just trying to outline like part of the way that I'm thinking about it and why I'm excited about it. But you bring up some really interesting points too, and that's why, like, you know, I mean, I would have to think really long and hard about that. Is like, do we really need stablecoins in the future? Like, dude, I don't know. That's above my understanding for sure.
We might. I mean, you also figure that, like, we're at this crazy volatility time where society's going to keep putting more and more of its money into crypto over time. And we'll reach a point where people most likely are like mostly crypto. I mean, it might take a while, but I don't see us not reaching that point. And when we do, you figure that at that point, Bitcoin will be a lot more stable, because Bitcoin will be treated as like Bitcoin might become a stable coin at a certain point. Not to say that it'll ever be as stable as US dollars, which it won't, but it'll get more stable. And then you think, okay, if Bitcoin's never going to be as stable as US dollars just because it works differently and there is changing demand, then yeah, man, like maybe stable coins will be valuable. Maybe Terra will create a stable coin that's like it doesn't have to be based on US dollars. It could just like it just has to be based on what things are priced in. And unless we actually like end up pricing things in Bitcoin, then we're probably going to need a stable coin.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. And even if long term you think that, like, for dollars to come into crypto, they probably, I mean, for the most part, I mean, I guess you can go from fiat like straight to Bitcoin, but it's like that 1-to-1 like USD to UST is a way for the entire crypto ecosystem to eat up dollars. And like, I think that's huge. You know, if there can be $1 trillion that comes into UST, and then UST is just the dollar of Web3 for a while, like that's fucking huge. But and in either way, it wouldn't matter if you don't have to use UST long term. It's just that like now, once it would be in the system, then maybe Luna becomes that. Like maybe it stabilizes once all the UST is absorbed. I don't know. It's hard to like think through that far, but yeah, I mean, the thing that really sold me on it was just actually using it and actually playing around and just being like, wow, like you can use this and you can make money. And now, you know, now I'm thinking very different in crypto too, is like, well, first of all, I agree with you that like, you know, I think 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin is the most important like fact of currency, rather than like what is the price of Bitcoin. Like when I have friends that are like, oh, like, you know, I had a friend tell me that like, oh, because, you know, we went up to 65K and then down to 28K, he's like, this time on the way up, like I'm going to take profits. Like I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to take profits this time. I'm just like, well, like what does that mean?
Dude,
like,
people say these phrases. I thought of another phrase people say. People be like, you know, I'm not so sure about crypto, but I'm really bullish on blockchain. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Well, people have just heard that blockchain is the technology, and like, yeah, I don't
people
know.
Just say it's like things you say to sound,
people just say shit
to like seem like you know what you're talking about. Like, not that's maybe extreme, but it's just like, I was watching. Do you watch Rick and Morty?
I actually don't know, but I'm like aware of it.
Matt, I'm telling you, this is like the gift just that is waiting to just give to you a world of laughs and you're gonna love it.
I've watched a few episodes.
It's like it's the most brilliant show I've ever seen. Like,
damn,
I'm a believer in Rick and Morty. But I was watching this episode and they made this funny joke about like, I'm gonna botch it, but like Rick is saying to Morty, he's like, look, Morty, everybody knows that the movie Inception didn't make any sense. And Morty's like, have you seen Inception?
I have, yeah.
Okay, and Morty's like, what are you talking about? It made sense. And Rick goes, look, I don't care. Like, clear, like you want to sound smart, I get it, but it didn't make any sense, Morty. It's like, it's the perfect movie to sound smart at a party, Morty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. People just say shit that they don't really understand, for sure. I mean, that's a big problem outside of just crypto and with just basically everything. It's people love to think that they know what they're fucking talking about on shit they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, rather than admit that we're all just floating in darkness with seemingly 1% or way less light in the darkness, and we have no idea, and we could walk outside of our house and get a virus, or I don't know, get hit by a bus. Like, there's just people just tend towards certainty, and I feel like as an investor, if you're able, it's like investing is spiritual. I've said it before. Like if you're able to, it's all about tolerating uncertainty. So.
Yeah. So, but like to kind of wrap up on the DeFi part, it's like the reason I'm excited about it now and how that ties into stablecoins and all that is now I see it is that is the income of my future. And maybe you already like probably think of it this way because you've made money in crypto, but most people don't, right? So it's like, you know, at some point it's like you still have to like pay for life and stuff, right? So it's an interesting thing to imagine. And now I can like see a clear path to this. Whereas, if I'm right on these investments,
yes,
not only will that make a lot of money, but it will make a lot of money without ever selling those investments. It's like owning blockchain real estate. Like, you know, for example, like with Thorchain and like, you know, they're going to do like their synthetics where you can essentially get rewards from the liquidity pool by only providing on one side. So in theory, you could like provide 1 Bitcoin and make 10 or 20% paid in Bitcoin on your Bitcoin. So it's like, okay, well now you've just opened up a reality where you never sell and you take loans against your assets.
The high level concept is being able to support ourselves in crypto
without selling.
Exactly. And that's the key. I mean, once you realize that like all of the money that is printed in centralized governments makes it that much harder for people to become financially independent, because all of that piece of the pie is like your piece of the pie just shrinks, and it shrinks constantly and you don't realize it. And what crypto is it's saying, no, you own the pie and you can get actually a share of inflation if you're helping out with this system. And it's like, I think crypto is going to make billions of people financially free. It like crypto could solve poverty. Like it's crazy to say that, but just if you change money, a lot of shit happens.
How do you wrap your head around the idea that like there's going to be like the equivalent of trillionaires if this shit plays out? Like it's going to be so great. Like imagine I think the people that already have made like $1 billion in crypto and then they're like all in on helium right now or whatever.
Dude, it's like, give it like 5 years and we might be there. You know, like it's crazy to think. It's scary. I almost don't even want that. But at the same time, like, bro, if helium gets 1,000, if other projects do well, it's like this shit pops off at a point. And you ask, it's like, as Kanye said, no one man should have all of that power. Like, what do you do with that? And it's a crazy thing. It's like with more power becomes more responsibility. There's gonna be trillionaires. By that time, also $1 trillion will be meaningless because but they're still gonna have an outsized amount of power. I think
they'll have so much of that pie. One
of the things with crypto is like a lot. The trillionaires will look a lot more like Warren Buffett than Jeff Bezos, I would say, because crypto is all about. Funny that Warren Buffett's anti-crypto, but just I see him like as a wise soul, whereas Bezos is more of like a logistical worker. So on but they also say that absolute power corrupts absolutely. So honestly, man, I think that there are issues that come up with crypto, people being able to pick projects. It's also like, this is like FBA back in 2006. Like it's just before the crowd. So like it will get harder to make money just as the education is advanced, as more people have a gripping of it. And there's not going to be projects like Shiba that it'll take some time. So, you know, we're early to it. We can make a lot of money. Anyone who's early to it could make a lot of money, but it'll also be easier
to make a reasonable amount of money
if
you're just using these things.
If you're just holding the right money, then the value will increase over time.
There's that, but then there's also like actually like, you know, with DeFi and stuff, like actually using these things, like, you know, contributing to it. And like I get that right now we're in the Wild West and it's like it's not completely safe and you shouldn't put all your money into some random DeFi protocol that's been live for 3 weeks. You should not do that. But like this is the beginning of that, and that's only going to get safer over time. And like, you know, if it gets to a point where you can put, you know, let's say I mean, this example scales, but you know, you get to a point where you have $10 million, whatever we think dollars are by then.
Yeah.
Let's say you put just 10% into like, you know, a 20% savings protocol or whatever. And then that's like more than most people. I mean, that's a fuckload. Like, that's a lot of money to make.
The question becomes, how did we get the $10 million?
Right. Well, I'm saying it because we're early to crypto.
Right.
But like, okay, let's say in 10 years, I mean, shit could be so different, but like, my point is like somebody that right now, you know, they like have some money in stocks, like whatever, like in the future, that person that doesn't give a shit, wasn't early to crypto, whatever. Like, what if the average person can just get like essentially 10%, like guaranteed, like essentially guaranteed through crypto versus like, you know, like who would throw their money in the S&P 500 if you could literally just get 100% guaranteed 10% per year? Like billionaires like literally look for places to get like 4% per year because they can't find enough safe places to put their money. Our
standards are all going to change at the same time. Yeah, it's I forgot what I was, but yeah, it's fascinating.
But I feel you too. Is it's like it's almost overwhelming to think like if this plays out, just how much of a power shift there really is and how much money goes into early people's hands. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
And that's what's funny too, is like when people are like I got a DM from somebody, sorry if you're listening, just somebody that's been like following me or whatever, and like he's cool, like he's always supported and stuff. This is not like a bad thing. I don't know why I'm prefacing it like it's something so bad, but he was like just the other day he was like damn, like I don't know, I might have posted something about helium, I forget if I did, but he was like, dude, like I sold helium. He was like and I regret it. And and I was like,
I can't even do this. I know where this is going.
And he was like, I don't know, really. I mean, you probably do, but he was like,
I think.
Well, so he said that, and he was like, yeah, like you know, I first heard about it from you, and it's so interesting, and I was in it, and I didn't even ask him that many questions, so I don't know where this is going either. Maybe so maybe there isn't a great punchline like you're imagining, but I'm curious what you're thinking. Buy it back.
Right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But here's the thing: is I was thinking this through after, and I'm like, there's only two reasons he would have sold. One, it went up by 20%, and he quote took profits, and he's like, yeah, like went up by 20%, or it went down some amount that he got scared and sold it. And I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, it's just so like missing the point of
but that's
like
the
if you're gonna
like he is missing the point, and what are we even talking about? Like he missed the point. I agree with you. It's tragedy that he can't get the point. Are we able to convince him? Probably not. And I think that for our emotional health, being able to deal with people that totally miss the point, that write us off, is crazy. It's like I don't take that personally, and I feel bad if people don't make money, but it's I've heard so much of like the crypto stuff that at this point I'm just like in my own bubble with it in a sense. And
that's probably healthy. I mean, well, it's definitely healthy.
I think it is, man. I think like one concept I am excited to talk about, I just remembered. I was actually had our first team meeting since I got COVID earlier with the market cap team, and I was like, in 5 years, we could be a team of 100 people that are working like 10 to 20 hours a week, and maybe 40 if you want, and you'll get rewarded based on how much you're putting in, and we'll think of a fair system for that. I'm like, that's a reasonable amount that people are going to want to work. We'll be able to do it. Our team will be wiser because, I'm talking more now on it, but our team will be wiser because we're able to invest in our own health and rest and just have a chill life and not be obsessed with work. There's a certain benefit to that. And I think that like a lot of these things, like it's going to be like, oh, like you give some time to this project and like eventually you move on and your job is easily replaceable. Like I see it just like growing slowly, and with a lot of these projects, just like the the culture and the ethos and people like caring about each other is one of the most important things, and like the way people talk to each other too. I know that went all over the place in a way.
No, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, it's just it ties in perfectly. It's like I think that's kind of where all these like companies to like, you know, the emergence of like DAOs, and it's just like people are just gonna like flow in and out, or like that thing you were sending in the chat, like this concept of like bounties where it's like you just do the task and you get paid.
Yes,
like it, yeah. That type of stuff could be just like the whole economy almost.
The whole game is like, sorry, we still going?
No.
Okay.
No,
I feel like the whole game is being able to like relax the monkey mind and see these things clearly. And that's another way that it's can be seen as spiritual in a sense. And after this, we should talk about fucking materialistic spirituality, because that's been on my mind.
Let's do it.
But so Jamie, put that on the whiteboard. It was funny because I said it with authority. So, oh my God, what was I talking about? You come on. What was I talking about?
Well, wait, before you said
the Jamie thing?
Fuck.
Oh, no.
Well, I had just said like.
What was I talking about?
Well, I had just brought up like DAOs, and then you were like, like. Was that it, or was there something after that? Fuck.
I remember that I wanted to talk about spiritual stuff. Oh, but investing it's all about quieting your mind. That's what it is. And I really believe that, like, being able to turn off the monkey mind, being able to just have this, it's like we're at a point where there is sort of a constant stream of increasing quality information, and every day on average Twitter gets more interesting, not less. And what do you do with that? Because even if it's the most interesting shit, if you check it for 7 hours and 10 minutes a day, that's the time I spent on my phone, I think, in the week, in last 2 weeks ago when I was burnt with COVID, then it'll make you sick. So, like, mental health online is like a kind of a huge issue, and I mean, meditating in the mornings has been huge for me, to like think, and it's trying to like, I almost see humanity as like elevating to another level of consciousness, and not to say that I'm fucking God or anything, right? We're kind of teetering on that.
Take us with you.
Okay, fine. I will. Okay. It's a coin that you have to buy. Yeah, no, like, not to sound all woo-woo, but I really do think like the monkey mind consciousness can only lead us so far, and meditation kind of teeters on a different kind of thing, and it's very dangerous. I mean, I've been thinking about this maybe this is a perfect transition into the spiritual stuff, but I think it's very dangerous to think anything about yourself with meditation. It's like, oh, I'm good at meditating, it's made me wiser. It's like you can very quickly get lost in that, and like get lost in the ego game. And I like, just to wrap it up, I think that as a concept, I don't know if the numbers are right, but as a concept, 90% of people don't meditate. 10% of people do. But of those 10% that do meditate, 95% just like sort of get lost in their egos with it in a way. And like, especially the people that are like become very woo woo, like a lot of the types that I've met at these different, spiritual things I've gone to, you know what I'm talking about. So like, it's which I actually dropped after the last summit.
Whoa.
And I've realized, like, you got to really look deeply and ask yourself, are people wise? Because a lot of times people want to be seen as wise, and they've spent their whole lives unconsciously building up a persona that comes off that way, and they don't even know that they're doing it. And a lot of times I think that the wisest people don't initially come off that way, and it's like it's a very, very dangerous game to try and become enlightened.
I think there's some wisdom in that.
Thank you so much. I meditate.
Yeah, it reminded me of something my friend was telling me, and it's like I wish I remembered the whole story so I could actually tell it, but I only remember like sort of the feeling at the end of the story, which is that like this is somebody who's also like very much gone down like the hippie spiritual rabbit hole over a long period of his life for sure, and has been around all those types of people and engaged in all kinds of activities. And I remember he had this story of like he had some job where he'd have to just be like driving up like the mountains and stuff, like kind of off the grid, and he'd like would meet some dude that's just like, his job is just like super simplistic. It's like, yeah, I pick these up and I drive them up the mountain and I put them over here and then I come back down. And I remember he just had this, I don't remember the details, but it was like just this guy was there, like this person was lit up, and it was like that was a type of wisdom and spirituality versus like the people that are projecting a certain image by having like this visually too, like people that go through lengths to have a whole like spiritual outfit they put on.
Yeah, bro. Dude, I honestly recently, after I dropped that thing, I stopped wearing my bead bracelet. And like that might sound silly, and I might start wearing it again if I fucking want to. Okay, I'm not committing to anything. The audience is about to revolt. Back on track. So like I stopped wearing it because I realized like I don't need this thing, and like I kind of felt good wearing it, and like it was very subtle. It wasn't like rainbow, but I realized like I just don't want to wear this thing. Like I feel like I don't need to be that image. And it's like it was very subtle, but I kind of like not wearing it. And even like I like it's tricky with like there's a tank top I have that has a little tag on it, and I'm like, but then I noticed that if you wear it inside out that the tag doesn't show. And I even started like wearing it inside out because you can't even tell. I'm doing that now. You can't even tell. And I just like it. It's like enough of these outward projections. And I want you to continue with your thread on the outfit.
No, I mean, I feel like that transition to what you were saying. It's right there with it. But I'm curious, like when you're saying like the tag on it, like is it because it's a specific symbol, or you just want to be more like minimal in general where you just don't want any label?
I don't want the brand that I'm wearing to be showing, because then it's like people can look and understand how much money you spent on it and how much money you have. And like I definitely after I made some money with crypto, it's like I realized that if you spend more money on clothes, then there's like features that you can get, such as really fucking soft shit that you generally don't get at a lower price point. So what I want is my clothes to be soft. What I don't want is for people that I'm walking around and then people know that I fucking spent $60 on a pair of shorts or something.
For sure. I feel that for sure. Like, I mean, my favorite stuff in the world is like high quality, where you have no idea like what it, like I'm all about that like unbranded type of shit. Like that's like my dream objects, regardless if we're talking about clothes or anything. Like, dude, I go to the lengths of like covering up logos on like, I mean, I have like all my camera set up. I would cover all the logos on it with like black tape. Like I've wanted to like put a sticker just to like block the Apple logo on my computer. Like I hate like being a billboard for brands. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's completely ridiculous. That's so especially funny when people just wear like a fucking shirt. It's just like brand. It's like, dude, they're not paying you or whatever. Like,
yeah,
I like, dude, you could. Yeah, I love unbranded shit. Like, I will literally choose shit based on how obnoxious the logo is all the time. Like, if I'm just ordering like, I don't know, I needed like a new stupid Mac dongle thing or whatever, and like, you know, there'll be like a cheap one or whatever, but it just has like some obnoxious like logo, and I'm just like, there's no way I'm gonna buy that thing. Like, there's just not. Like I will spend twice as much to get something not obnoxious with a fat logo on it.
I guess, yeah, to get back to the thread, it's been this like massive unlock for me recently of I don't need to be able to describe why I don't think someone is wise or why I don't like the way we like people are a feeling. Like we feel a certain way around people, and some people we attract to, some people we are repelled by, and it's very easy in any group, especially spiritual, to get into this like high school mindset of trying to be cool in the group. And generally people that are cool in these groups know how to speak the language of the majority very well, but in the end they're speaking the language of the majority. And I think that thinking your own thoughts and thinking these things through, you're naturally just going to have paradoxical thoughts, and people are going to have to listen while you explain the nuance in your thoughts, and most people don't want to do that. And I realized that, like, you know, people can be wise in a lot of ways. People can be very fucking successful, but that doesn't matter if they want you to see them a certain way. I think it's like the opposite of wisdom is like wanting to be seen as wise. And it's a paradox because the more wise that you get, the less you want to be seen as wise, and potentially the more people do see you as wise. So it's this ego trap of you're not in meditation, you get in meditation, you start understanding how the ego works, you start being able to interpret the voice of the ego more and separate yourself from it in some ways, but not in other ways. And it's so impossible to get away from that. And anyone who thinks that they have gotten away from that, it's just such a red flag for me, because people build up these personalities. I figured out what the woo-woo stereotype means. Basically, it's people that build up a personality as if they don't have an ego. But under the surface, you can just feel that they do.
I know what you're feeling, for sure. I feel like this is interesting, just a little commentary, is it's like, I don't have anything to add necessarily, because it's making me realize it's just crazy how, like, in my personal perspective of the world, it's like we have these different elements of our personalities, and like just this conversation in the last 5 minutes or whatever is making me realize that I've not been on that side of my personality recently. If that makes sense. Like, I think I've just been like so much on what we were talking about earlier, like crypto and like money and like, you know, kind of like this like faster like mentality of and I've been less like, you know, on like the Alan Watts kick, or on the, you know, like 2 months ago, it's like I wasn't thinking about crypto, but I was listening to Alan Watts for an hour a day or whatever. And it's like we go through these ebbs and flows. So like I'm already like, dude, I'm going to take that away from this conversation for sure, and just be like, oh, like you just like kind of woke that up in me right now of like, oh, I haven't been thinking in that way.
And I was able to see that in myself. I mean, as much as you ever can see anything in yourself with any level of confidence, but I realized that I did that like for a while. You know, it's subconscious. It's not a conscious thing. And if you're talking to someone and if you're feeling insecure, which of course we all are, like you want to prove yourself, and you want to just like, it's like if I remember that I meditated for like 40 minutes a day, and there's a certain way of saying that, which is like a needy way of saying it. It's like about like just it's almost like humble brag in a way. And people get away with that all the time. Yeah.
Dude, I mean,
bro, like,
yeah, I feel like it's super prevalent for sure.
I just realized like it's a feeling, like it's a fucking feeling. And I also thought that the definition of creepy is when people are acting out of some sort of subconscious mechanism that they're not aware of. And around a lot of these spiritual people, I feel that kind of vibe. Not like sexually, like not sexually, but it's like a creepy, like as if it's like if somebody wants you to see them a certain way and gets uncomfortable if you don't see them in a certain way, then that's really weird to me. Instead of just having like a normal conversation, a lot of times these things happen where there's these conversations like if we were talking, I was like, Matt, I just want you to know, like, I've seen you like getting into crypto recently and you are really making progress. And I just see how fast you're elevating in crypto. And I just want you to know, like, you're really smart with this stuff and you're just like moving at such a fast, wouldn't be false. You'd probably say thank you, but then you'd return it to me a few minutes later, and a lot of our conversations just morph into giving each other compliments, aka inflating each other's egos. It's this like consensus to do that.
Yeah. I love this train of thought. I just like I don't know. I feel like I'm like a rung beneath your plane right now, like, which is a compliment.
Yeah.
You should feel really good about
it's good to be on the upper plane. Yeah. At the same time, it's like, even like, bro, I swear, like, this is part of the game of life. And the reason it's so interesting is like, I can never escape my ego. And even when you said that, I was like, oh shit, like, am I spitting some fire right now?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like, yes and no, yeah. Right? And that's the
But dance. I think it's like, it's also okay to like feel
right, because I can't fall into that thing where I'm denying my ego. It's like, yeah, like, I'm spitting some fire, right? Like, in a way, right? So it's a balance of like being able to identify with the ego, but not getting attached to that identification. It's like, it's funny, like, even like as we get things, man, like making more money, like renting a house that I really like in Austin and feeling so lucky, like that I followed my intuition in college and tried to become an entrepreneur rather than get a job, and feeling really grateful for that. And there's this shadow side of feeling grateful where I'm always like, because there's always the next thing you can get. And in a sense, you'll never have it all. In a sense, it's like this realization that we are all going to die, and everything, like, the more you amass, the more you're going to lose when you die, in a sense. So it's like, there's this way I can get with like, oh, I got this and I made this and my NFT and this and that. And it's like, I'm at a point with crypto where I am pretty confident that I'm going to be fine for a while, I think. And it's just, yeah, man, this like self-actualization stuff just naturally comes up. And it's Maslow's
hierarchy of needs. Like, once you kind of get all those baseline things, then you just move up to the highest rung, which is self-actualization.
Yeah, man, I just gotta like, I've just, if I were to sum up everything, I would say that friendship is a feeling, not math. And I gotta be really in touch with how I feel when I'm spending time with people, because with a lot of people, there's that like, it's like a slightly creepy, like, it's like not, it's like a subconscious thing, and it's like there's walls up, and I feel like I'm not quite speaking to the person. And with the friends that I have, I want to feel like I'm speaking to the person. And, you know, maybe people are different. Maybe other people have learned to communicate in different ways, and like, they're all people. But if I can't relate to somebody in a way that makes me feel like present, then it doesn't make sense to keep chasing the carrot. And some people aren't right for me. And it's been a huge realization for me because, bro, I've been inside for 17, 18 days now. I haven't seen anybody in person, and somehow I'm fine. I'm having longer conversations with friends, still less social, and I'm with myself. And sometimes I get frustrated that I have no energy, and sometimes like I meditate and then I like, I don't know, just go to bed. Like, it's just, I'll go on my computer. I'm just very solo. I'll go for a walk, and it's just a realization of like, it's okay for life to get simpler and to have those few core friends, and to be okay with not being the popular person in a group, and to be okay with leaving a group if you feel like it's not for you. It's like, yeah.
Dude, I mean, I can definitely relate on that. I mean, honestly, my whole life, I've had just like a few close friends at a time, and like, that's kind of it. And even people that you can be close to, or even family members, like, you can often never quite get past that wall you're describing of where it's just real. Like, honestly, even like, not to get so personal, but like,
please,
me with like my entire family is like, I'm really not like truly there with any of them. So like, and that's odd, you know, and it's like, it's hard to find friends that you can just like be engaged with instead of like what you're saying, like all the bullshit and the compliments. It's like, you know, that's kind of what people revert to, is they like put on this like feeling of like, well, I'm going to talk like this and I'm going to like portray this and I'm going to be seen as that. Instead of just like being, it's like they're asking too many questions instead of just experiencing.
Yeah. And yeah, man, it's a feeling. Like, we could try and describe it, but in the end, it's a feeling. And it's, you know, I mean, I've been thinking about this with my mom. Like, we went a few months last year without talking, and then we started doing therapy over Zoom, and I actually have seen the situation improve a bit over time, and the communication's getting a bit better, which is promising. But I also realized, like, it's I'm speaking just for myself, but the reason I can get triggered, not that you were saying you were triggered, but the reason I can get triggered around family, around my mom, it's like, it's almost analogous to that person that was saying like, fuck, I sold helium. And it's like, you could say, well, why don't you buy back? They're like, I don't know, this and that. And like, someone else's neurosis could make me fucking insane. And especially with family, it's like, we don't get to cherry pick, and they all have their neuroses. And that quote of like, oh, think you're enlightened, spend some time with your family, is it's a frustrating quote, because it's not like, there's no way to get around it, and it doesn't really flatter us at all, because the first thing I think of is, oh, well, I'm definitely not wise at all.
Yeah, it knocks all of us down a rung.
It does. Right? It's not a fun quote to think about. And yeah, man, at the same time, there's a certain truth to it. So it's to be able to find people, even if it's a few people that you really feel like you connect with. I think that's more than most people can say. That's more than a lot of people can say, to be grateful for that. And then, you know, as we solve, fucking sound like I'm coming from the higher plane, but like, as
you're good. It doesn't sound like that.
Okay, thank you. Like, that's my insecurity. But as we solve our own stuff, and we can never clear all of our shit, but maybe we hand off to our children a better state than we were born with. And as we do it, we become this like almost like a beacon, like we were talking about with crypto. And it's, you never want to see yourself as a beacon, because then you're not a fucking beacon. Then you're just spreading shit. And that's the paradox of it all. But, you know, it all happens in actions and not in words. And we can feel the light, for lack of a better word, spreading to people. And it's in the same way that crypto spreads, in the same way that anything spreads. So that's one of the things. I mean, even like with COVID, there's been dark times of just like, why am I doing all of this stuff, and I'm still just, there's this like, all this anxiety is still here. And I realized like it's all just like a constant goings on, and words are tricky. I could keep going, but I don't even know what I'm saying.
I love it. No, Thank you. If you keep going, if you got something to,
I don't know. Maybe it was a figure of speech.
That's true. It's like, as soon as you say like, I can keep going, it's like you kind of stopped.
Yeah,
right?
It's like I was sort of just making a lie and hoping you'd.
It's like I could talk about this for.
I mean, I could
a week.
It's like, okay, going. I could take out my notes and see what I got.
Damn, I feel like all I brought to the table today was like the crypto stuff.
I think in the description we can put, for crypto stuff, do this timestamp. for life stuff, do this.
It's like 5 minutes at the end.
Yeah. We've probably been going for like a good 20, and
No, it's true.
Yeah, if you want the life stuff,
I'm...
we're not telling you. You have to listen to the crypto stuff, motherfucker.
Yeah, see, now we've like eliminated, we've filtered at this point.
Okay, now that the noobs aren't here anymore, let's say what we really.
Now let's talk about the real coins.
Yeah. Oh, you expected spiritual enlightenment without listening to the crypto pitches of Helium, Terra, Thorchain, Solana, and Arweave? Well, too fucking bad.
So true. Yeah. Honestly, like, I keep thinking back to something you said. I think it was when I was in Austin when we did the in-person podcast. I don't know if it was on the podcast or after, but like you said something that was just like, you're like, yeah, like, I can get so obsessed with this crypto stuff, but like, I also have to just like set it aside. And like, it's especially in my personality that like, I like really like ebb and flow with interests. I'm like 24/7 on something, and then I'm like, don't even want to think about it. And like, that makes me realize like, I can't be like 24/7 about this, because I like, approaching it in maybe like a more sustainable way is probably good for the long term.
Yeah.
Like maybe I should watch an episode of a TV show.
Rick and Morty, brother. I agree, man. It's tough. Like it's a blessing to have a mind that gets obsessive, and because it becomes a huge part of your life, and you're able to actually like learn about things and move forward.
I love it.
And if you're not careful, everyone's greatest power can also be a weakness. And if you think about it, what got you interested in crypto was probably a mind that got a night of sleep without thinking about it as you wake up, and without dreaming about, like, there's a certain part. And I think another piece of mine came for me of like really realizing in my bones that money causes comfort. And I think you have to get to a certain point where you're really not worried about running out of money for it to really sink in more. But it's like, it's only just like a materialistic level, and the materialistic level is important. I mean, we're material bodies. You need food. You need healthy food. Money can make you healthier. Like, it's not nothing. But at the same time, this like existential dread and like realizing like making more and more money isn't gonna really solve any of the actual anxieties.
Oh, for sure.
And just like coming to peace with like crypto is an interest, and I'm gonna do my best to build stuff and make stuff and do stuff. But at the end, I have to ask myself, what do I really want to get out of it? Is it money? Not really. I mean, I would like to make more money. It's not really what I'm doing it for at this point. Is it impact? I mean, in a sense, but also like it's any impact that I'll have. Like, it's like you can make yourself feel insignificant at a certain point. So I realize like what I want is just to enjoy my days. And I feel like with
that's
that
number one
realization, which wasn't nothing, and it's something I still struggle with, but realizing like you want to enjoy your days and really feeling that in your bones, then it's like, okay, like we don't have to be CoinMarketCap, we don't have to be any other company. It's as long as you're just yourself and you're willing to like do things, and like you're willing to start things and have like it's really all just like the outward game falls away kind of, and I can make myself crazy thinking about crypto and how fast everything's changing. And I think it's right. It's like, you gotta be willing to go there fully, and you gotta be willing to rest fully. And if you get really excited about something, to expect that excitement to last forever is a bit arrogant.
Totally agree. Yeah. And on what you're saying with like, accumulating wealth and stuff, like, again, it's stored energy, right? So the way I look at it, like why I even think it's a goal, is Because like you said, like it takes money. Like there's obviously baseline things that you do for yourself materialistically in your material body, but like the real thing, like the things above like a relatively low threshold of money, like beyond that, it's what could I put this energy towards somewhere else? That's kind of what draws me to like even having the ambition to make more is, and I feel like in a way, like once I'm there, then I'll have like a little bit more chill to like think how to deploy. Whereas like when you're kind of on the climb, it's like I don't necessarily know what I would do, but like I just have a belief in myself that if I had, more money than a human could possibly spend in their lifetime on their family, that I would do something with it, Yeah. And it's not like I would, it doesn't have to be like, a solid gold house or some shit. It's like, it's just how can you point that energy to something that you want to, something that you believe
it's
is
like if you want to get a new pair of headphones, and like I won't generalize. For me, I'm trying to get into music, and I bought this new mic, and I got a MIDI keyboard, and I got one that I was really excited about. And
which one?
Do you know the Complete Control brand?
I know of it. Yeah, I know it decently.
Okay, yeah,
that's cool.
I got one of theirs. I got the 61 key board, and I feel like I'm gonna be able to grow into that and learn to play piano over time, like learn to play the keys. So I'm getting that, and like I got like over the ear head, and like I'm hiring an Ableton coach, tutor, whatever you want to call it, to meet every week. So it's like the money got that, and it's not nothing, and I'm very lucky and grateful to be able to be in that position. But you're right, man. It's like you want to be able to spend the money before you have it, but in a sense, it is like it does take resources to get it, and you have faith that once you get it. And also just starting to think about what you're going to do at the next level before you're there. For me, it's like at the next level, maybe I'd buy the house that I'm renting. And remodel it and do some dope shit with it.
Yeah, you could do whatever you want. Like that's the dream. And I think it's, it's totally cool to like spend stuff on yourself like that. Like I think that's part of, making your life as fun and fucking dope as possible.
Yeah, bro. In the end, HNT doesn't exist, but this microphone I can hold. It's like man starves to death with tons of HNT on his phone waiting for it to go up.
Yeah. Dude, like I love the music conversation, the nerding out on like gear, like that's I bought a MIDI keyboard like a month or two ago, and like I need to set aside the time more and get back into it more, because that's just like that's definitely something that when I get more into the zone we're kind of talking about, like that's the thing for me. It's like I could picture myself at the point where like you're rich as fuck, you have like you're in the right spot, and it's like I could see myself spending an exorbitant amount of time just making music, listening to music.
Yeah, man, I'm trying.
What headphones did you get? I'm a nerd about that.
I got the
stuff.
AirPods Max with Apple.
Okay, cool.
And then
nice.
You can't do it wirelessly, which is the problem why you can't use the AirPods Pro, because there's a slight delay when you hit a key from when you hear it, so you need it to be a wired in. But the AirPods, they do actually have a wire that plugs into them and then into the computer.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
The only
MIDI
issue with
always
the Max
has like a built-in.
is that they're kind of the music quality is fucking incredible, but they're kind of heavy. So I was thinking, like, if I really got into music, if I was doing, I don't know, lyrics, and I wanted to like be free flowing, then I'd probably use the AirPods Max for editing and use another pair if I wanted to like. I mean, that's why I'm wearing the Pros now, because I didn't want to wear the Maxes for like a while.
That makes sense. No, that's awesome, dude. Like, send me some stuff you're making if you're open to it. I'm curious to hear some.
It's not good at all yet. I feel like I'm learning like the basics, man. Like Ableton is such an intimidating program to get into, and there's so fucking much, and I'm just trying to learn how the MIDI keyboard works, how to like where are my sounds coming from? Are they going to be samples? Are they going to come from an instrument? to even be able to ask that question and have the background to even know that that's a question. Like there's so much shit. And also realizing like, I don't think I'm going to really be able to get anywhere if I don't have at least a basic understanding of music theory and notes, which I don't. So like I've been learning about music theory the past couple of nights, and I have another lesson on Friday. So like I feel like in the beginning it's just like such a slog in order to make any, but then you reach a point where you start getting more confident, and that's where like at this point like doing an hour a day is like very good and not the easiest thing. But I hope to get to a point where I'm able to like start being creative as opposed to just like remembering where the buttons are.
Right. Yeah, dude, that's the trouble with Ableton, is like just knowing how to do even 1% of what it's capable of. Right. is tricky. But that's awesome. No, I mean, that's another thing I like, my freaking obsessions and ebbs and flows. Literally a month ago, I was just like, all I was doing was either like everything I was doing was music related, like in my free time. And then like in the last 3 weeks, everything I've been doing is crypto related in my free time. It's like, shit, I'm crazy, dude.
Yeah, it happens, man. It's like, there's no right or wrong way. And like, you realize like there are trade-offs. And if you spend more time on crypto, that's less time on music. And I even thought to myself, I was like, oh, like, what if I just not work on marketcap.guide and just work on music? But then I realized, like, I'm really good at crypto stuff and I'm not that good at music. And there would be this void. And I need to, like, get the music up to a certain level where I feel more comfortable with it. And also, marketcap.guide, I was thinking, is, like, kind of like an infant that can't walk yet. And it's like, I need to make that thing be able to walk first. And also, at the same time, put, I don't know, an hour into music every day, because that shit will add up fast. And then if you do an hour for 6 months in a row, it's going to be a lot easier to do 2 hours compared to trying to do 2 or 4 to start.
For sure. Damn. Yeah. The age-old TFSR problem of how do you manage your time and find and actually set aside to like do these things that you want to be doing. Maybe and get stuff done. Maybe
it's less of the question is not even how do you manage your time, but how do you accept that you can't do everything?
Yeah. It's both. I mean, yeah, you definitely can't do everything, but it's like, you know, having the discipline to be like this hour. Like, do you have a specific time of day where you're setting aside that hour? Like, so, is it a routine?
I agree that you got to actually be able to work smart enough to generate momentum. So like somebody that's starting to meditate, I would say don't aim for 10 minutes a day, aim for 2 minutes a day, because that'll get you in the rhythm of it. So that's an example of like how to do it, working smarter. And with Ableton, the way I started was just posting, hey, does anyone know an Ableton coach? I found one. We scheduled an appointment. First appointment, I said, like, what do I need to buy that is going to set myself up for long-term growth with this? All right, MIDI keyboard, this is a good one. Microphone, this is a good, like, we got that stuff. Okay, now I have the equipment, and we're scheduling a session a week. So my base level accountability is just having these Zoom meetings planned, and I have to show up. So I have to do at least 1 hour a day. And recently, just the last like 4 days, I have I've like realized I really want to learn about music theory, because I'm getting to the point where I can like write in the notes on Ableton, but I realize like you can't really do a melody if you don't know basic music theory and you don't know what notes sound good together. So that's the next thing. I need to learn like that so that I can make basic melodies that sound good together. And I already have kind of a intuitive understanding of like kind of how to do drums, although I'm sure I could get better. So it's like what I'm trying to do is make the whole song. And in order to do that, you need a bunch of different backgrounds.
Yeah, you do and you don't though. I mean, if you have the ear for it, I mean, you can definitely figure things out by ear. Like that, definitely. Like, you know, like, because but at the same time, it's like maybe I'm only saying that because my like first forays into music were like on the music theory side. Like I was like learning like instruments. But like now, if I'm doing something with electronic music, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. Well, I mean, there is kind of like a base understanding of theory, but it's like I'm not thinking about the theory. But it's like maybe
you're more advanced.
Maybe there's a baseline understanding where like the theory is still influencing like what notes I even try, you know? But I'm still mostly like I almost think it's more creative to like fool around because like when you learn music theory, then it can kind of be like a box that you're being put into as well. It's like try these chords or whatever. Whereas like a lot of the interesting stuff comes out of like a strange things sometimes, which to know how to do strange things with music theory is like obscenely intense. Like you need years of training. Like I never learned that type of theory. Like when you learn like these weird like extended chords and like 7/9 whatever the fuck shit chords, like that type of stuff, you'd probably do better like noodling around. But like I mean having a base understanding of like scales,
like what is a triad, stuff like
that would help. Or like even if you can't explain it, it's like knowing how to play it. It's like, oh, well, I know that if I go 3 keys up, it's probably going to sound good.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the idea. And like, I think, it's there's so much foundation to build and I don't want to get overwhelmed with it. But yeah, man, it's like just starting and figure out how do I make these sounds, and it's eventually getting to a point which it feels like I'm not there, but I'm approaching where I can make stuff that sounds good together. And also I want to try and mimic and copy songs that I love. And there's different ways to do that. But I realize like the way Coldplay versus like the Macklemore rap beat versus like more instrumental stuff, like this like Eden versus the other stuff, Ed Sheeran, like these different artists that I've been listening to recently that all have wildly different styles, and thinking, well, how do they do? Oh, okay, there's this and there's that, and like these things dance together in that way. So I mean, honestly, like listening to music deeply is a great way to learn. I mean, that's like, dude, I feel like that's one of those ADD sort of things that like how many people even listen to music anymore. Like you listen to music in passing now, like, but you ever like sit down and listen to an album? Deeply. Like I don't know almost anybody that like does that anymore. Well, listening to albums when you do that has like changed my relationship to music ever since I got that record player. I don't listen to the record player as much just because the acoustics are worse in my new house, but I will listen to like albums all at once and listen to different songs over different days, and you really get a sense for the vibe, and you like tune your mind to be able to pick up on it. So do you know what a dope thing to spend some money on would be? Like get like a legit like speaker setup for a turntable, because you could make that thing sound epic in there for sure. I absolutely will. Yeah, one thing I need to figure out with my house is how do I hire people to like do things around the house. Like I don't want to like have to learn how to like it's a tricky system. It's like once like you hang a picture, you figure out it's just hanging a picture, but then it's like, oh well, we need to like install this like this smart lock. Oh okay, well I'll figure out how to. It's we need to like maybe like make the windows better. Oh well, I'll learn about window theory. And like pretty soon you're just a handyman. I want to figure out how to hire people that are really good at this, that know what they're doing, and just get all of the housework done. And it's like I realize like I have ideas for around the house. I mean, bro, even like hanging curtains. Like I've done that before. It took a few hours. I don't want to do that again. And well, I'm sure you could just like, can't you like what is it like? Is it TaskRabbit or is it the other one? Like, have you tried that type of shit? I need to try TaskRabbit. Yeah, but something like the speakers, dude, I'll like fucking fly over there to set up speakers. Like that's my favorite thing in the world. like I'll pay you to buy speakers. If you want to fly out here and install my speakers for me, then just let me know. Dude, I mean, I don't know if you're thinking like install like some embedded shit. Like I'm talking like have you like can you picture the tower speakers I have? Yeah, I could. And like by the TV. I mean, yeah, I already have the Apple Home pod, which is really nice because you can just say, "Hey," her name. I can't say it.
Yeah.
Play whatever, and it will. And it
there's ways that you could integrate that into like a dope speaker.
Yeah, you're right.
setup,
I need a
like,
dope speaker setup. I have no defense.
Yeah, I mean,
It'll
like,
happen.
I'm not one to push materialistic objects on you, but like,
You're
I think
too
it'd be
enlightened
sick.
for that.
Like, like, dude, that is one area that, I mean, I don't even have like my shit's not crazy expensive by any means, but like at the time when I got it, it was like my prized fucking possessions, and like, dude, I love those tower speakers or like headphones. Like, I've got these like crazy fucking can headphones and shit.
Yeah,
Like
it matters.
like I love like that crazy audio stuff. Like it will make a huge, especially like with the vinyl and stuff. Like you can totally, like, I don't know if I'd have to look at like what outputs are on your current record player, but like that's kind of like an all-in-one thing. But dude, you can set it up so you can like spin your records out of like, the sky's the limit with how intensive speakers you want, but you can do some epic shit.
It's gonna be great, man. It's one thing at a time, but I'm sure like over the years, especially
send me
if
a
I get to the
budget.
point, if Helium gets to the point where I'm able to buy the house and like make some renovations, it'll be great. So yeah, man,
that'd be so sick. You think they'd be open to it, or you're just planning on making them an offer that they can't refuse?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would have to ask them if they're open. I would one step at a time.
Yeah, that'd be sick though. And then you could like really,
I'll give
really
you,
dial it in.
what do you say, $40 billion for it? They'll be like, okay.
I'll give you 1,000 HNT. I know it's not worth a lot now, but just listen to me.
Like,
Just hear
I
me
actually
out.
bought this like. Do you watch Rick and Morty? I bought a Rick NFT, and like it's like cool. I mean, number one, you could like store it on your phone, but like hold it for a while. Like, will you take it for the house? Watch it be like, yeah, this is a really cool one. Yeah, sure.
They're like, I saw CryptoPunks. Like, this must be the next one.
I really have to pee right now.
Should we?
Yeah.
I mean, we are at 2:15. Like, should we just? What do you think?
Yeah, we're probably safe to wrap it up.
I think this is probably a good point, and then we can leave some on the table and actually do it without a 6-month gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really happy we did it. I finished my Zoom earlier. I was out of breath. I know I told you this, but for the 10,000 listeners, I sent you a voice message. I was like, look, man, I'm winded after the Zoom. I'm hoping I can do it. And I was like, let's just start and I'll figure it out. And I'm glad that we tried it because clearly it went fine.
Yeah, you were spitting fire.
Spitting fire. So yeah, dude. I like doing this, and maybe like we'll aim for like come another month or so, we'll try and do it. I love this because we always just like kind of get an itch for it and then do it. Yeah,
I think we've both just had like a crazy handful of months, so it's just like not on the top of what we were thinking about. But I feel you. I think like a month is a good cadence, so let's keep it in mind. We don't have to like
no pressure.
Put it on the calendar yet or whatever.
Months.
But it'll happen.
Hell yeah,
and
cool. Sure.
For the 10,000 people listening, join the 3-person Facebook group. No, I'm just kidding.
The rate of joining has been like 0.001% of our supposed listeners.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're listening this far, I assume you know where to find us.
To the 10,000 people
Matt
listening,
Sam Feldman.
I gotta say, to the 10,000 people, it's nice to be a C-list celebrity.
Yeah,
We have 10,000 listeners, man. It's. I gotta say, like, I didn't think it would make me happy, but I feel like I'm like there with 10.
You getting stopped on the streets a lot?
Oh no, but you know, sometimes I see people looking in my direction. I'm just like, they know. I'm honestly, man, right. I'm so happy I don't get stopped on the streets, and I hope that I can, whatever, if anything that I do ends up becoming well known, hopefully it can be under some sort of like pseudonym, maybe like that'll be safe for next time, but
dude,
like,
that's so funny you're saying that, because I was
Yeah.
literally just gonna, like, that was something I was thinking about earlier. Is that is an area I've been thinking about a lot, is like the whole pseudonym thing, and like
yeah,
yeah,
dude,
like
especially like
could
making
be-
music, like you'd be so much more free.
dude, and just
Yeah.
to say, and I know you have to pee, like this, we'll
Yeah.
leave this on the table.
It's ebbing right now,
but
but yeah,
we'll leave this on the table mainly for next time. But it's like, dude, I would, I mean, this almost sounds like an ego thing to say, but I would love to have like a following that's not, maybe it's not ego. I would love to have a big following that's not tied to like me as me. Like it would just, because that way I could really say what I fucking feel. And I think is having a personal following, like you never really truly can.
yeah. I think it's like it's so right, and I feel like that. Just to touch on the ego thing quick, I've realized that these things are healthy if we do it out of a form of self-therapy and self-expression. And like I watched an interview with Ed Sheeran, and he was saying every song I've made has been an emotion I felt so deeply and a tough part of my life, and somehow making that song has been my form of therapy. And after I make the song, then I'm able to kind of move past that. And I have been trying to think of creative output in that light of what is my emotional wound that I can like somehow take and package and make it and put some meaning behind it in a way that might connect to other people, versus I want to get 10,000 listeners on the fucking podcast because that'd be sick.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you. I guess it's like, because I had the taste of like the personal following, and now I realize like I wish I had built a pseudonym following all along in a way, because it's like now it's like I don't really want to say anything.
Right. It's like, why do I want to tell you fuckers what I think, and you're just gonna tell me all the reasons that I'm wrong, and you are probably right, but I have my friends to tell me that in a nicer way than you just did. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I've gotten like, I don't know. I mean, not that I was like this big personal brand or whatever, but it's like at some point there was like, you know, you'd like make your bio something that would make people want to follow you, and then you'd get them to follow you so then you could keep them engaged or whatever. And like, dude, now I just like delete, like I just like don't have a bio on like any social platform. Like I just like get rid of that shit.
Bro,
I like, yeah.
One of the dope things about Judaism is that the idea is that if you go asking to convert to it, they're like, nah, you don't mean it. We don't want you. It's kind of like that, because they're not out there trying to sell themselves. It's just like, if you really want to join the tribe, then, you know, like there might be like an immigration process, a conversion process.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, man, I think it's interesting. Let's put a bookmark and talk about it sometime in the future after I pee.
But yeah, let's do it. So
right.
that's the podcast.
That's the podcast. Thank you guys for listening.